Yeah, yeah, living on a red line. Yeah, living on a red line. And I don't really care about the next guy.
Yo, live. We here. Wagwan, what you saying? Stock say, que lo que, you don't know. So this is diasporatic, and today is a special episode. Me and JR are gonna do something a little different, you know what I mean? We here reading a little book I got called The Pan-Africanist. It just got a few you call it like short biographies on some very important people to the concept of what this show is all about, you know. So we're gonna tell a few stories out of this book. We're gonna do a little series today. We're gonna start with one. I'll introduce that in a little bit, but right now I want to introduce the concept of Pan-Africanism because a lot of people don't understand what that is, where it comes from, why it's an important concept, you know. So at Diasporatic, we're trying to reintroduce um some very important concepts and topics and ideologies that were a part of our past, have shaped our past and our future and our present. And we want to reestablish and reintroduce them to maybe some young people, some old people, some people that need some refreshers, all of that in between, including ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So we don't judge people here. You know what I'm saying? Judgment free zone. But just a little introduction to Pan Africanism. I'm gonna keep it short on that part, but modern Pan-Africanism is about 100 years old. It was it was in July 1900 that Henry Sylvester Williams, a Trinidad-born barrister, organized the first Pan-African conference in London. He stated, to bring into closer touch with each other the peoples of African descent throughout the world. This first gathering was a small affair, only 4 representatives from Africa itself attended, but it was the beginning of a movement that would grow in the course of the century, attracting men and women around the world to an ideal of justice and human rights. Pan-Africanism is a people's movement, a struggle against the unjust and unlawful oppression of black people. Such oppression is nothing new, for its origins lie in the enslavement and exploitation of black people dating from the first appearance of Europeans in Africa from the beginning of the 16th century to the end of the 19th. Slavery and the slave trade devastated vast areas of the continent. Some 15 millions were shipped across the Atlantic to the plantations of the Americas, ranging from Brazil to the southern states of the United States.
15 million.
Check that number, bro. Okay, so let me just read the last paragraph here. A century after a group of black activists first met in London, the world has changed beyond recognition. Institutional racism has been largely demolished. Colonialism is a thing of the past, although neocolonialism is alive and well, not least in the shape of Africa's crippling debt crisis. But the ideals of Pan-Africanism are no less relevant today than they were then. The dream of a united Africa is still unrealized, while black people around the world continue to be treated all too often as second-class citizens. While disunity and discrimination remain obstacles to a fairer global community, the Pan-African vision of cooperation and justice will inspire and mobilize future generations around the world. So, we're gonna move on now to our first person, right? Frederick Douglass. Probably one of the most, if not the most important person. Um, I just some little stuff that I know. Like I was listening to some people talk about Douglass on a podcast the other day. Just to put in perspective how big of a person Frederick Douglass was at this time. Um, Frederick Douglass was an enslaved man that advised the president of the United States
That's
during
crazy.
a time of enslavement. People would travel from Europe, on vacations, and one of the things that they would do would go see Frederick Douglass speak. We're talking about white people. We're not talking about black people because
I
his
mean,
name was
my brother,
right,
hold on.
right. But his name, I just want, no. I just wanna be clear. I just wanted to be clear.
Let me be super clear, bro. Ain't no black people was on vacation in them fucking times, bro.
Okay.
Ain't
Just
nothing to
checking.
laugh at. But just saying, you're right though.
Just
You're right
checking.
though.
But
You're right though.
so, um, but people would come to see him speak because his words of equality and justice were so powerful that he inspired other freedom movements in other places, including the French Revolution. Okay? So let's just put that in perspective. Like Frederick Douglass was the original Michael Jackson. That's how like people used to fawn over this man. He was tall, dark, and he spoke loud and proud. Okay? And he was not a meek man. So I want people to understand why this man was so great. You know what I'm saying? Because it's hard to sometimes put yourself in that position. So uh Frederick Douglass was born in 1817 and he died in 1895. He's one of the most prominent activists against American slavery. Frederick Douglass was an exceptional and inspiring orator. Not only did he himself escape from slavery, but encouraged other blacks in the southern states to do the same, both before and during the American Civil War. He went on to become one of the most important Afro-American leaders in the 19th century. Frederick Augustus Washington Bailey was born a slave in Tuckahoe, Maryland, the son of a black slave mother, Harriet Bailey, and a white man. He managed to teach himself to read and write, but was mostly forced to work long hours for his master. When he dared to teach at Sunday school, he was flogged. Such degrading experiences filled him with a deep hatred of slavery, and he tried to escape to the freedom of the northern states in 1836. A second attempt succeeded in 1838 when he reached Massachusetts. Here, with forged papers, he adopted the new name Frederick Douglass. It was in Nantucket, Massachusetts, that Douglass's gifts as a public speaker were first discovered. As an anti-slavery meeting in 1841, he got to his feet and spoke movingly of his own experiences. He was soon employed as an agent of the Massachusetts Anti-Slavery Society, speaking at many meetings and working with the Underground Railroad, a secret network that helped slaves to escape to the North. He was once described as a recent graduate from the institution of slavery with his diploma on his back. Let me read that again. He was once described as a recent graduate from the institution of slavery with his diploma on his back.
Max, a question, just to clarify for me. He was once described as, not he described himself as.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Carry on.
Okay. Because of his direct experience of slavery's degradation, Douglas Douglass was able to speak with extraordinary passion and authority. He described how slaves were routinely flogged for impudence. Flogged is another word for whipped. I just want to say that. A young slave must accompany his overseer or master with hat in hand, he said, and woe betide him if he fails to acknowledge a favor of any sort with a tanky master. A handsome giant of a man, he was able to keep his audiences spellbound with his unusual eloquence. Indeed, so eloquent was Douglass that some opponents of the anti-slavery movement claimed that he could not have been a slave at all and was an impostor used by the abolitionists for propaganda purposes. Yo, fake news was a thing from back then.
Our propaganda always been.
Always been, right?
Yeah.
Um, Douglas's fame as an orator rapidly spread, and soon he was attracting very large crowds to his public meetings. In 1845, Douglass traveled to England, partly to win favor for his cause and partly to avoid the risk of being recaptured under the fugitive slave laws. Sympathizers raised enough money to purchase his legal freedom, and he spoke to huge audiences throughout the country. He also had meetings with influential politicians and campaigners who were pressing for an end to slavery in the United States. At the end of his tour in England and Ireland, he returned to the US in 1847, telling a capacity crowd in London before he left, "I will go back for the sake of my brethren, to suffer with them, to toil with them, and to endure insult with them." Once back in the United States, Douglass started an abolitionist newspaper, Northern Star, and continued working with the Underground Railroad to such an extent that he became known as its station master and conductor. His dramatic account of his life as a slave, Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave, 1845, had been published and caused enormous controversy. During the 1850s, he was a friend and associate of another famous abolitionist, John Brown, who believed that slavery could only be destroyed by an armed uprising of slaves and their oppressors and their supporters. Douglass disagreed with this strategy and refused to be involved with the seizure of arms at Harper's Ferry, which led to Brown's arrest and execution. Even so, when the plot was discovered, Douglass was forced to flee for his life, finding sanctuary in Europe. By this time, the hostility was growing in the U.S. between the cotton growing states of the South, where the slaves had been used since the 17th century, and the industrial North. Abraham Lincoln was a candidate in the 1860 presidential election and had pledged to abolish slavery, so Douglass returned to the campaign on his behalf. Shortly after Lincoln won, the Southern states decided to break away from the Union. An American Civil War broke out in 1861 between the pro-slavery Confederates of the South and the abolitionist federal government in Washington, D.C. Douglass threw himself into the struggle and was asked by President Lincoln to help mobilize black troops on the Federalist side. He raised two regiments, the Massachusetts 54th and 55th, which gained a reputation for outstanding bravery in the course of war. Fighting against the discrimination faced by black troops, he forced Lincoln to improve his regiment's conditions, issuing his famous call for men of color to arms. Eventually, in 1865, the federal forces were victorious and slavery was officially abolished in the entire United States. In the aftermath of the war, the U.S. Constitution was amended to include the Act of Abolition, and Douglass was personally responsible for the enactment of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. That's crazy.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Wow.
After the war, Douglass was appointed to a series of official positions: U.S. Marshal for the District of Columbia, 1877 to 1881, Recorder of Deeds for the District of Columbia, 1881 to 1886, and the U.S. Minister to Haiti, 1889 to 1891. In all these posts, he spoke he spoke out for rights of minority and oppressed people. As a U.S. representative in Haiti, he had the difficult task of speaking on behalf of a superpower that had long been hostile to the existence and independence of the first black republic in the Americas. Nevertheless, he was greatly respected by the Haitian government and people who saw him as a natural ally. In later years, Douglass worked on his life memoirs, revisiting narratives of the life of Frederick Douglass into a new account of his life as a slave. This was called Life and Times of Frederick Douglass and appeared in 1882. Frederick Douglass died in Washington, D.C. on the 20th of February, 1895. Douglass is best remembered as a passionate critic of slavery and an early advocate of human rights and equality. His greatest weapon was his command of language, which enabled him to speak and write with great conviction and persuasiveness. He was once asked to speak at a meeting commemorating America's 4th of July Independence Day, and he said, "What to the American slave is your 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him more than all other days of the year the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is the constant victim. To him, your celebration is a sham. Your boasted liberty, an unholy license, your national greatness, swelling vanity, your sermons and thanksgivings with all your religious parades and solemnity that are to him solemnity, solemnity, solemnity. I can't say that word right
That
now.
one sound the best though.
Solemnity, yeah. Are to him bombast, fraud, deception, impiety, and hypocrisy. A thin veil to cover up crimes which would disgrace a nation of savages. All above, yo, how true. Those words are so true. So, so true. All above, or sorry, above all, he was a living symbol of freedom and black self-advancement, not just among black community, but in the U.S. as a whole. He was also nominated as a candidate for vice president in 1872. Uh, the labor in the labor of to
Damn, bro.
a, a,
That
s- a s- a small party called the Labor Reform Party, which doesn't exist but now, but
yeah, of
would
course.
probably be like the Democratic Socialist Party somewhere in there. But yeah, that's dude number one, Frederick Douglass. Boom bop. You feel me?
So listen, right? What anybody is saying X, Y, Z, A, B, C, right? I mean, quick because the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th Amendment, that's like really dope, bro. So
Thank you.
I went check this out
That's a
real
good
quick. So
that's a good fact check.
the 13th Amendment, right? That it says the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution officially ended slavery and forced labor across the country. I just giving you the gist of the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th for
Right,
the
right,
people
right.
like
Just
me
give
who
it, yeah,
don't
yeah.
know,
Give
right?
the headings.
Right. So the 14th, it grants citizenship to everyone born and naturalized in the U.S., guarantees equal protection under law, and stops states from taking away basic civil rights. That's
AKA
the
birthright citizenship.
right. That's the 14th, and the 15th says it prohibits the federal government and states from denying any citizen the right to vote based on race, color, or previous condition of servitude. So them
Boom.
is some big ratifications to their constitution that he put in there, bro. Them is some like
And in these times, I need, not everybody's in the United States, and that's fair. A lot of people might not understand what's going on right now with Donald Trump and all the politics and everything that's happening right now. But these things need to be paid attention to. We had a black man directly responsible for these things happening. Not no white person. A bunch of people died. And I say a bunch, millions of people died for these three amendments to happen. We need to take this stuff more seriously. Yes, check. Like in general, like
we just need
understanding
to
where this stuff come from.
I just think we need to remind our children because again, for me, the generation that's here, they gone, bro. You can't save them, bro. So for me, it's like the kids, bro. Like I fully believe in that, bro. I ain't even wasting my energy on this generation, bro. It's like the kids that moldable right now is the ones that we need to be showing black pride to. Teach them about the people instead of just the ones that the TV showing them on the internet. Let's show them the
Yeah.
people because yeah, Little Dog got some hot tunes and he really in jail for doing some bad stuff. But this man during slavery times was directly responsible for laws that are still in the Constitution to today. This man at that time was him, bruh. Bro was him. Like in the words of the young people right now, it don't get no more him than that, bro.
I like that, bro. That's
No,
real.
straight up, it don't get
No, that's real.
who who other black man during that time could even stand? Look, they talk about
Thi-
Jim Brown. Hold on, they talk about Jim Brown. However, his name was
um um um
the guy that came up
shoot.
with a plot to steal
John
the
Brown, John
weapons.
Brown.
John Brown,
John
right?
Brown.
Sorry about that, Mr. Brown.
Yeah, you good, you good.
Yeah. he come up with a plot to steal the weapons. The bro's like, I don't want no part of that because that's only gonna cause more problems.
And actually, I was gonna say something about that too, because the interesting thing about him not wanting to cause, there's always been this interesting thread that goes through with Black civil rights in America, where it like violence never is the answer. Because it when it is funny though, it's the only struggle in the world that I know of where your civil rights has not come through violence. Like the only violent struggle that there was the Civil War, and that wasn't even directly black people versus white
No,
people. It was
it
white on
wasn't.
white. So the violent thing for the black people in this situation has never been the answer, and they never looked at it as the answer, which is very interesting because so much physical violence has been enacted on us. But
Hola.
I don't know.
I just think, right, that if you look at the position of how our people were scattered and honed like sheep in a flock, they got the areas they're supposed to be in. So before the black people at a southern farm ever find out that Mr. Brown do some stuff up in the eastern part of the country or something, the white people are gonna find out and they're gonna enact violence on our people just
Right,
to stem it before it happens. So it's
right.
always that in the back of certain leaders' mind. Because if you lead in, you want to save more people than you lose. So you don't want to set the rat of this man against your people. No. You get where I'm coming from, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah,
they
yeah, yeah,
gonna they
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
hear the news first. The horse riders
Right.
gonna bring the news to the slave masters first, and they gonna put in, they gonna put the hammer down on them farms and stuff, bro.
Right. That's yo, that's the interesting thing about anger is that anger it it opens you up to um I
They
want to
say
say your weaknesses,
violence
but
begets violence, bro.
it begets violence, but it's also it's not that it opens it makes you vulnerable. That's the word I want to look. Anger and violence makes you vulnerable. You're like extremely vulnerable. You feel me? Like when you're ultimately when you're thinking about like war, like the what's that book? The laws of war, uh
Ottawa,
the art of war, right? The last one is the best the last law is like the best form of winning is peace. You know what I mean? Like that is the strongest um conveyor of what you want to do, of your intentions. You feel me? Like, yeah, like you say, violence begets violence. If you kill somebody, you just giving them a reason. You're giving their child a reason to want to kill 10 of you.
they all the people that ain't even the child no more.
Right.
Child
No,
gotta grow up.
right,
That was
right,
back
right,
in
right, right.
medieval times, bro. These times, no, your cousins and your friends come in first.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Uh,
so yeah. Now, bro,
I
was
think it's
him though.
powerful to remember these things because we see so much violence around us, in our communities, and like we need to take responsibility for that violence. Like every community needs to take responsibility for the internet and what's going on and with what's being da 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 da. Da. And part of that is taking responsibility for the violence. And I'm talking about domestic violence. I'm not just talking about gun violence. We're talking about all types of violence that happen. You know what I mean? We gotta take
From bullying
accountability.
everything, bro. Cause
Everything
it starts small.
small, right? Exactly. We all know this. All these little things that are going on in our community. All is like when a cousin fighting a cousin, it started from, oh, he took my juice.
Nah, but check this out though. Like this just happening right now in my life, right? Now me
Yeah,
personally, 'cause I had peace, bro. You know? And
right.
but I got this friend and he got his little crew of fellas,
Yeah.
This up here in the UK. Because I don't know nothing about an Angola. That's just so that's for the local people who want to think that trying to
Gotta stay out.
dip into where I coming from and trying to figure out who I talking about. I'm not talking about nobody, right? So the man had a little whatever, but these men always together, So big man had a little must argument about with the playboys. So he told me about it, right? I like, yo, bro, that don't even make no fucking sense, bro. Just get a man a call there, that fuck. You check, like, cause it don't make no sense. Them is your boys. Y'all live in the same area together. All is like, you out the country now, but would you never coming home? Are you NBA young boy? You not staying out the country forever, bro. So I
Bro.
know. I like just dead that fuck that. I know. I
Real
must
shit
like a
though. Real
hold
shit.
on, hold
How
on,
many
hold on, hold
OG?
on, hold on.
Sorry, sorry.
Must have like a week pass, bro. I'm chilling. Now, bro, gonna know if he ever watches this episode, he be they all gonna know I talking about them. And if anybody tapped into my shit, they gonna know who I talking about. Bro, drop a song named Fake Friends.
Bro.
Nah, but listen, it's funny
I
now.
gotta laugh, bro.
It's funny now until you go back to the hood and somebody get a knife pushing them rib cage. And then
No,
there's a whole different level of beef now again. Because that's how it
no.
starts. It starts small. This is what my point was to the
Yes.
whole conversation.
100%. I ain't laughing because it's funny.
That could have been dead, bro. Like that's like so nothing, bro.
Yeah, exactly. I laughing because it's making what they say, making a anthill out of a whatever out of anthill,
Uh,
a pile out of an
yeah,
anthill.
I know the saying, but I don't know the saying.
You know what
Making
I mean?
a
Like they
mountain
make
out of antilla or something like that.
something like that. It's like, bro, like you could have just rolled over that and just gone about yourself.
Bro, that could have they dead. Them is your boys. Are you always together? You do all these things together. Like I said, take my advice, bro. Dead that fuck. Don't go write a whole diss song on your friends, bro. Like you could say, boy, I mean talking about that man. I had recorded that song 6 months ago. You drop it now though. So even if you did, why you drop it now?
What kills me is you got all the energy to do all of that, but you ain't got no energy to just say, yo, dog,
Dead that
done
fuck.
that. How easy is it to say, yo, done that?
In my life, you know how many times I've just dead situations. All it took was a fucking phone call, bro. And that shit super like dead, bro. This why
That's
I
what's
know like
crazy.
I ain't built to be on the level of these type of people, bro. And that's
No, me
why I
neither.
separate myself and I on my level, because I look up to people like Mr. Douglass, bro. You understand? I don't look up to people like fucking Scarface, even though he on the wall is the message. The wall is mine, and they gonna take that fuck. You understand? Because the only
I
way I
like
gonna
that
get it is
message.
if I gotta grab it. Cause the man giving it to me for free. So that's your soundbite for the day. Squat.
Clip it.
Yeah.
Yo, no, the thing is, I was gonna say is, right, the amount of energy that you wasting on hating people, go spend that creating something positive, and I guarantee the return you see from that energy will be so great. Whatever you had dealing with that hate, gonna feel like nothing.
So just a quick drop in there because what you say makes sense. And I just don't want to like tear down my boy. Cause that my boy at the end of the day. And he been on a good run with his music. Couple girl tunes, couple positive. Like
Right.
he still got a little gangster thing, but he makes music, right? So I must shout him out in that way. So big up yourself, bro. You know talk about I'm not giving you that fucking that free ad, right? No, and this shit. Because you do some goofy shit. If you didn't do some goofy shit, I would have give you the promo, bro.
Yo,
But
to get the
them gotta
shout.
figure it out kind of move, bro.
Yo,
You
that's
do some
real
that's some
real
goofy
talk.
shit, my nigga. Like
We
and these
can
man know I
only
keep it
promote.
1,000% real, bro.
Hey, I co-sign that. We only promote positive things on this thing.
And
You check? This
we
podcast
didn't
is
even have that
positive.
plan, but that's how the way we think as man.
Love only.
100%.
Only.
Yeah,
You feel me? We
PRI.
gotta live
I
life
mean
to love.
PIR.
Yo,
Oh shit.
I went, yo, live, dog. I went to church this morning, and that's what Pastor tell us. We gotta live to love, brother. We got to live to love. I learned that from my father self, bro. I love my people more than I hate other people. You feel
Bruh.
me?
And if I
Yes.
tell you the truth, if I tell you the truth, since I leave my prison, which ain't HMP for those fast fuckers,
Nah.
Anguilla in general was my prison. Since I leave and I move out, I had never had a reason to hate not one single person. I live so free of that emotion. That is weird. That why I think this the root cause of my happiness is that I live in a way where I don't have no hate for nobody. Like, bro,
Yo, let me tell you something. Hearing this makes me very happy because I was there to help you do it, yes, but it's like a thing for me in my life. I feel like we should be doing more of. Like my goal in life is to actually create like a program for young people that don't have the opportunity to leave these small islands to have at least some type of work exchange, some type of opportunity to go somewhere and do that because I feel like these experiences to be able to take them back
yeah,
would big up the whole place.
bro,
Trust me.
it's crazy, bro. Right? Like, he say young people. It's a big old man, bro. But
I
I
ain't
ain't
talking about
taking
you
nothing
though.
from. No. I ain't taking nothing from it. What I'm saying is, they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? But that ain't true. So imagine if you could catch the kids when they
Right.
mind, let them see the world, bro. This, what I would think, bro. Like, check this fuck out, bro. This just crashed into my brain, right? Because you always had these societies for the kids to go to, like the Cubs and the Scouts
hmm
and the Guides, and them
hmm
kind of programs need money reinvested into them.
Yes.
Them
That's what
kind
I'm
of
trying.
programs,
Yes.
because if them kind of things, you get a whole group of responsible um background checked adults, and they can do the little travels together. You understand? You got like 5 6 adults and 20 kids. They can handle the load, bro. And they go to Rome. They take a bus tour across Europe, right in the moldable ages, like 10, 11, 12, and they take that fucking and bring it back. And it's always funded so that the next year, the next group of them could go.
I think I
There's
think
so
we could
much
find
things could be
enough.
done, bro.
No, this is what I'm saying. I think there's enough people in the diaspora of the Caribbean to be able to fund these things because there's enough. We just got to be able to link things together. I was telling you this the other day, this is something we building on here. You know what I'm saying? We can build on this community, brother. I building something here, you building something here. We all building something here, together, you know? That's the thing about it is like we got to utilize the technology at hand to do positive things the same way we talking about instead of just all this negativity. So that's where I'm at right now, you know what I mean? This is what we doing right now. That's why we just got to keep sharing, keep liking, keep following, keep subscribing, you know what I mean?
That's the plug. Let me see if I grab mine.
A bad,
Plugged up. Plugged up, bro.
Them ain't no,
For them, no.
them no. Boy, hey, this
Yeah,
has been
man.
Diasporatic, your check. Hey, we gonna lock this one out because it's a good time to lock out on. Yeah, we don't have to give it to them all every day.
I mean, for me, I just want to say my takeaway from this episode, bro. Like, this is why I think on do like right now in the end of this episode, since this was a special, I'm gonna be special as well, right?
All
My
right.
takeaway from this episode is that we have our own superheroes in the Black community.
Book.
People who have
Big
achieved
gun,
amazing things
big shot,
that are never spoken of enough, that
big
are
shot,
never forced to the front as much as
big shot.
all the bad black drug dealers that were running the place. The guy named from New York and the other one, Bumpy Johnson. All them guys, bro, and the ones that we push to the front of the people that we see when we think of, we don't see these people yet. I've heard of Malcolm X. We're going to get to that. We've heard of Martin Luther King. Many people know of Frederick Douglass, but many people don't know of what he has achieved. Many people,
Right.
and what we read today is the tip of the iceberg, because you don't
The
get to be in
very
them positions with just at them little things that we say. Them was just flicks of the highlights
good
of
points.
his
Good points.
career.
Good points.
Yeah,
Good
so
points.
my takeaway again, the one thing, bro, we got our own superheroes in our community. We don't need to look up to nobody else, whether they in America, throughout the Caribbean, South America, Africa, wherever our people are. That's why it's Pan-Africanism, because we're everywhere. Anyhow, that's
Right.
my takeaway.
I like that. I like it. I gotta leave you. Dale, you summed it up, bro. You summed it up. Like real shit.
Like Marvel, get on the Frederick Douglass fucking superhero vibes, bro.
I actually like that take a lot, actually. We got our own superheroes. I'm
Nah,
gonna
but for
reinforce
real,
that.
brother.
We got our
Because
own
you about
superheroes.
to go through a book of our list of superheroes, bro. And each
It's
one of
real.
them got their own powers. But we looking for fucking laser eyes and super strength. Nigga, the power is there. That's where the
Yo,
power
I
comes
think the
from.
thing is too, I think what's important is it's our turn to tell our story.
A hundred
And I
percent.
think and I think our generation has to come to terms with that right now as a serious thing. Um, it is a serious responsibility, and I'm trying to take it seriously. This is why we're doing this podcast. This is why we continue to do music even as we get older, and we try to pass these oral traditions on because as I get older and do this research, I'm starting to realize how important it was for the survival of my people. And so I want my people to understand why we continue to do this thing here at Diasporatic. You feel me?
And how less of it was taught to us coming up.
Right,
We have to go and seek the knowledge. I
right.
don't know if you know the song, but it says seek and you will
Yes,
find.
yes. Seek and you will find. We out on that one. Yo, Diasporatic. Yo, it's all love here, baby. You already know. One love. Peace.